Hello, so today we're going to look at the French C38 Gas Mask, and now this is one that's nice because it's come in one of these tins. Annoyingly, because it was so old, the first time I opened and closed this after I bought it, this strap ripped. But as you can see, it was one of those tin designs where you lift it up and the lid is basically, you can't lose the lid because it's actually stuck on this sort of thing. But regardless, here we go. So, but still nice to have a mask in a tin. So, let's pull the mask out. There we go. This is the mask and filter. So this is the French C38. Now you might say this mask looks really familiar. Why does it look so familiar? Because one of France's later masks, the M51, is very much the same design, just in 40mm NATO and a slightly different sort of voice diaphragm exhale valve slash type thing. But this mask is pretty interesting. Unfortunately, I won't be able to test it in this video. The reason being, it has a 42mm filter, and this filter definitely isn't safe to breathe through. It does unscrew, and, you know, it's quite conventional. However, the weird thing, the intake valve is actually on the filter itself, not the mask. Just thought that was a bit strange, but there you go. But otherwise, it's pretty much a French M51, if you're familiar with that mask. You know, looking at this, you'll see from the inside, it looks exactly like an M51, so what I'll do is put the mask on and show you it. So it's got one of those nice little neck straps, so you can hold it like that when you're not wearing it. And then it uses the standard French system of the two over sort of ear clips, rather than actually having, you know, a 6-point adjustable head harness. Now, interestingly enough, this has, unlike the M51, which had two straps at the front there, this one has one strap in the middle, a bit more like the Italian T35, which also looks like a lot like the French M51, but I suppose France stole the design from Italy, not the other way around, due to the age of the masks. Right, so let's put this on. It's a bit dusty. Right, that's very tight on my head, so I won't bother doing the straps up. As you can see, it seems to pressurise. So, no idea to you how good this voice diaphragm sounds, but if you're familiar with the M51, you'll be familiar with this mask. Now, the lenses in this are cheap celluloid. They're nowhere near as good as the glass ones in the M51. But, as I said, if you wanted a mask like this, wanted one cheaper that's more likely to be an effective mask, the French M51 is better in every way. I still don't like the exhale valve, as I've said before, in the French M51, because that's very easy for it to rip, because they made it from quite a weak thin rubber. But overall, the M51 is quite a nice design. For when at least it came out, it was in service too long, but that's going beside the point. So, as far as I'm aware, the C38 was a mask designed in around 1938 sort of times for civilians in France. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be too long after 1938 before France was obviously invaded by Nazi Germany, but interestingly enough, apparently these still stayed in production all throughout World War II. So I guess the Germans, either in occupied France or Vichy France, you know, didn't care about the French still making these masks. I've just noticed something weird. If you look at the mask from this angle, like not too obviously it looks like an S10. Because that looks a bit like the voice diaphragm sort of cover trumpet thing. And that looks a bit like the S10's lenses. That's weirding me out now. Obviously it completely doesn't from the sides or when the filter's in it, but just from that angle, to me it looks a bit like an S10. I don't know, that's weirded me out now. Just from a little camera viewfinder. But yeah, so it's, for a World War II civilian mask, it's very well made, because as you can see it's got a Tissot tube system going into the eyes there. Although they're just cheap celluloid lenses, they'd have worked. This particular one is from 1943. The rubber says that, and thankfully his stamp is still visible, which is nice. Because on a lot of these masks, obviously those stamps wear off pretty easily. There's also at the bottom it says C38 MC II 56. So I assume one of those is the production run. But obviously C38 is the name of the mask. So I'm assuming that is the production run on the bottom. Obviously C38 is the name of the mask. But yeah. There you go. So that is the French civilian mask 38. Pretty, has an N stamp there as well. Pretty cool if you like these old design masks, but as I said, if you wanted something like this that's a bit more durable, still not all that durable, get an M51, but you know, the C38 is pretty good for when it came out, but as I said, unfortunately, it's a pretty obsolete design because it uses an old, not very nice asbestos filter, and this filter is in 42mm, not 40mm. So basically, you can't put you know, filters on this mask that are safe, really, because you can't get, you know, 42mm converters or whatever. You know, you can still get 60 to 40mm and all that, but you can't get 42 to 40 or anything like that. So it's an interesting piece of history, and it's nice that it's got a tin to go in as well. So let's just put him back in there. With this mask, I tend to store the filter on it just so it sits in the tin a bit better, because the weight of the filter sort of helps get it in. But the nice thing about having this in the tin, it should preserve the mask very well. Yeah, I do like these old masks that came with tins. I think this might use the same filter the Belgian, was it L702 mask used, because that was a pretty similar mask. But yeah, there you go. That is the French C38 mask. Pretty good for a World War II civilian mask, but, you know, as I said, if you can find these cheap online, probably worth getting one.